Hello and welcome. Conditional air of freedom for NSAS protester Peter Eromosele as court grants him bail in the sum of 1 million naira and 2 sureties after spending 10 days in police custody. Police lawyer tells Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry is told the phone numbers used by alleged kidnapped kingpin Evans to collect $1 million ransom are linked to a petitioner, Mrs. Obiechina. President Buhari vows not to allow a repeat of the NSAS protests, promises to address issues that led to the demonstrations. And U.S. lawmakers grill Facebook and Twitter chief executives over materials distributed on U.S. elections on their platforms. Plus we'll have business, sports, and later on news from our studios in London.
On business news tonight, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies signal readiness to act on crude output cuts to prevent further slump in oil prices.
On sports news tonight, Sierra Leone forced Nigeria to a goalless draw in the 4th round of matches at the African Nations Cup Qualifier in Freetown.
It's a breath of fresh air for NSAS protester Peter Eromosele as the magistrate court in Yaba, Lagos has granted him bail in the sum of 1 million naira and 2 sureties. The court rejected the request by the police for an order to detain Eromosele for another 30 days to enable them conclude investigations into the allegations against him. But counsel to the defendant, Mr. Adeshina Ogunlona, argued that the facts were not weighty enough to support further remand of the defender.
Apprehension gives way to despair in front of the court as the police with a heavy presence cordoned off the road leading to the court gates. Many, including journalists, were denied access as another round of protests broke out. Tense moments by angry youths in support of Peter Eromosele, charged by the state with inciting violence and terrorism during the NSAS protests. The gates are manned by the security personnel, preventing the family members and the youths from entering the court premises. Even the accused sister, Onome, is denied entry. Perhaps to avoid further distractions, the police let Onome in. She wastes no time as she heads straight to her brother in the Hilux pickup, where he has been sitting for over 2 hours. A smile indicative that tensions will die out, and they did, quickly. Peter Eromosele takes the stand as the proceedings commences. Here, counsel to the state pleads for 30 days to investigate the alleged criminal act in the matter. But the defense counsel will have none of that, saying that the fundamental rights of his client has already been violated in the past 10 days of arrests and detention. He asked the court to dismiss the application for lacking merit, which the magistrate did.
The bail conditions looks a bit tough, but not too tough. We hope it could be better. One, that there should be 2 shorties. The shorties should be blood relations, family members, and then one should have a landed property, and then they should be taxpayers, and their bond is 1 million naira. Not that they're going to pay. It's not security for bail. It's an undertaking that if the gentleman should run away from trial, the shorty will pay 1 million naira.
Counsel to the state declines comments, but the relief is welcomed by the Eromosele family.
Victory for the people of Nigeria, victory for the youth of this nation, that no intimidation. I see them as the indomitable youth of Nigeria, and this is the first sign and the victory for the youth of Nigeria.
The excitement over what they call victory is undeniable, as they hope that the judicial system will stand in favor of the truth at all times. Yemba Umar, Channels Television News.
Eromosele's troubles started after his arrest in Lagos by the police on Saturday, November the 7th, 2020. He was first taken to the police command headquarters in Ikeja and later transferred to the Area F Command on the same day, November the 7th, before being detained at the SCID at Bansi, Yaba on November the 8th. He was flown to Abuja on Monday, November the 9th, and detained for 7 days before being brought back to Lagos on Sunday, November the 15th, for arraignment at the Magistrate Court in Yaba, where he was granted bail today, November the 17th. Now, it was a shocking discovery today at the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry into police brutality when it was revealed during cross-examination that the phone numbers which a notorious alleged kidnap kingpin Evans used to collect $1 million ransom were linked to a petitioner. During her first appearance before the panel on October the 31st, the petitioner, Mrs. Nzube Obiechina, said she lost her 2-month-old pregnancy while being detained for 22 days at the Special Anti-Robbery Squad in Ikeja, Lagos State. At the end of the cross-examination, the chairman of the panel, Justice Doris Okuwobi, asked parties to sum up their case and adjourned hearing in the matter to December the 8th, 2020.
The 8-man judicial panel of inquiry take up the case of Okechukwu Obechina and his wife, Nzube Obechina, over alleged police brutality and refusal to pay 2 million naira compensation after a court ruled against the police.
They were very much aware that I was pregnant. They all knew.
Mrs. Obiechina, during her first appearance before the panel on October 31st, said she lost her 2-month-old pregnancy while being detained for 22 days at the Special Anti-Robbery Squad in Ikeja, Lagos State. After over an hour of cross-examination of the petitioner, counsel to the police draws attention to what he calls the contradiction in the testimony of the petitioner, noting the seeming incoherence in the date of arrest of the petitioner and her husband.
I was arrested on the 2nd, but they called me to come and make the statement on the 5th. So after 3 days, they called me for a statement. Yes. So they now told me to write the date of the statement. That is what is on the book.
Not satisfied, the lawyer of the police digs into earlier statements of the petitioner during their arrest at the police station with the aim of establishing before the panel that they have a link with notorious kidnapper Evans Onwamadike.
Yes.
Onwamadike.
Who is that person?
I've said it.
It's your brother. Yes, Sophie. Are you aware that when Ume Francis was kidnapped sometimes in 2016 and ransom of $1 million was collected, and the said Ume reported the case to the police? Are you aware? We are not aware. And there are 3 numbers that call the family of Mr. Ume, which are 080 9100, that is 40, 080 914097. Then the second number is 0811 24 52 895, and the third is 081 88 48 9518. These numbers were used to collect the ransom from Mr. Ume. And once the report was made to the police sent this number to our technical intelligence unit for expansion. open numbers came out. That's this number frequently called. And the number of the two witnesses feature prominently.
At this point, the chairman of the tribunal read out the petition to the council, insisting that the issue of the day is why the police is yet to pay the 2 million naira awarded to the petitioner by a court of competent jurisdiction after establishing there was torture.
If you read the reliefs they are seeking from the panel, it will guide you as to what issues you should look at.
I think most of the issues that are being ventilated have already been decided. And for what I'm hearing, the Federal High Court has taken the decision. The Court of Appeal has affirmed that decision. So everything that relates to torture or illegal arrest, they've already been dealt with. And as such, leaving evidence or cross-examining on those issues most absolutely to not need a window. As Malaria Fed has been directed, you should speak to the release, and if there is nothing, there is nothing.
You got the judgment, quite correct. You have to file an application in court for the enforcement of that judgment. Were you told?
I wasn't told, and maybe we'll do that.
There is no evidence before the panel that the police appealed the court's judgment on the compensation to petitioners.
Meanwhile, Seun Kuti, son of the late Afrobeat legend, says he is reviving a movement founded by his father, Fela Anikulapo Kuti, as a platform to demand freedom for Nigerians to express themselves. The musician, who was part of the recent NSAS protest in Lagos, told journalists here in Lagos that the days in which members of his family were harassed by security operatives appear to have returned. He was speaking at a press conference in Ikeja.
Maybe you will not see any of these faces here as candidates because we would have politicized the Nigerian people enough. We would have woken them up enough to understand and to realize that leadership is in their own hands. Their future is in their own hands. The ideas that will liberate Nigerian people might not be on this table, but I want to guarantee you that this movement will be the movement to cultivate those minds, to cultivate those ideas in a Pan-Africanist and socialist foundation. So this is the rebirth of that movement, and the movement cannot survive without the support of the Nigerian professionals and the middle class. We have to do the work now to start to engage those of us in society that have been completely left behind, that have been overlooked. For this government to be able to say whether we are arguing today that somebody died in Lekki or not is because poor people in Nigeria are not recorded anywhere. All the Animageria and beggars that migrate to Lagos, inside which data is their name. If they are the one, because the people that call protests, everybody had left Lekki. Yes. It's not everybody that was in Lekki that had family. Yes. Most of the people there were these people that were waiting for something to happen in their life, that didn't even have a home to go to after coffee was called.
The Nigeria Police Authorities appear not to be taking lightly comments by Major General Garba Wahab on the police force and the Inspector General of Police, claiming during an interview on Channels Television that the IGP was not in control. In a strongly worded rebuttal, the police spokesperson Frank Mba states that the IGP is firmly in control of the operations and administration of the force. Part of the statement reads, "The force wishes to categorically state that the retired Major General is wrong in his assertion, as IGP Adamu is firmly in control of the administration and operation of the Nigeria Police Force." It notes that the comments by Major General Garba Wahab show that he spoke purely out of ignorance and from a jackboot mentality that lacks proper understanding of democratic policing culture rooted in the rule of law. It reiterates that the retired officer clearly spoke on a subject outside his area of core competence. According to the police, the various reform policies being implemented to reposition the force and uphold the rule of law are an indication of the IGP's exemplary leadership aimed at driving a citizen-centered policing approach. It, however, states that the Nigeria Police welcomes constructive criticism that will help improve governance and policing. In part two, after the break, South-South governors condemn failure by a presidential delegation to attend meeting with leaders of the region. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Conditional air of freedom for NSAS protester Peter Eromosele as court grants him bail in the sum of 1 million naira and 2 sureties after spending 10 days in police custody. Police lawyer tells Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry that phone numbers used by alleged kidnapped kingpin Evans to collect $1 million ransom are linked to a petitioner, Mrs. Obiechina. President Buhari vows not to allow a repeat of the NSAS protest, promises to address issues that led to the demonstrations. And U.S. lawmakers grill Facebook and Twitter chief executives over material distributed on U.S. elections on their platforms. The president is giving the assurance that there will not be a repeat of the NSAS protest by youths, which held across the country last month, by taking steps to avoid issues that gave rise to the action. According to the Minister of Police Affairs, President Muhammadu Buhari made the comments during the National Security Council meeting, which he presided over at the State House. The minister says the Security Council resolved to ensure the police are up to the task of fighting banditry and kidnapping in the country by being equipped with modern technology.
Mr. President assures Nigerians that he will do whatever it takes to ensure that the repeat of NSAS protest does not occur in Nigeria again. Mr. President has assured that all stakeholders will be involved in the process of maintaining peace in the country, particularly the youth, community leaders, traditional rulers, politicians, public servants, religious leaders, etc. The federal government will continue to maintain its democratic, humane, and just postures in handling security matters in the country. What we are saying is that government will continue to dialogue, government will continue to listen, government will continue to carry all stakeholders along, ensuring that there is no repeat of what happened that destroyed a lot of properties of public and private individuals in this country. The meeting noted the need to pay greater attention to the police in the discharge of its functions of maintaining peace in the country in the areas of equipment and modern technology. You see, we always encourage people to report these cases to the police, because the moment you take it upon yourself and continue to pay ransom, this will continue to occur. People are paying ransom, and as long as we continue to pay ransom, these things will continue to occur. But if you report these issues to the police, police will continue to pursue these people, and in most cases, we succeed in freeing these victims.
Over to the South-South, where the governors of the geopolitical zone say they are displeased about the treatment meted out to them by the presidency for cancelling a scheduled meeting to deliberate on several issues, including the aftermath of the NSAS protest. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, who is the chairman of the South-South Governors Forum, on behalf of his colleagues, says they feel disrespected over the action of the presidency, which is said to have called for the meeting. Traditional rulers, youth groups, activists, among others, were in concert with the governors, demanding an unreserved apology from the presidency before any consideration for further dialogue.
Six governors from the South-South geopolitical zone, traditional rulers, youth groups, women leaders, major stakeholders seated at the banquet hall of Government House in Port Harcourt for a scheduled meeting with the presidency to be led by the president's chief of staff and ministers from the region. In a twist of events, the chairman of the South-South Governors Forum, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State, broke the news that the federal government delegation could not attend the dialogue due to a security meeting with the president.
I got a call from the villa. Very unfortunately, and spoke with the chief of staff to Mr. President, and he did ask that I should please apologize to the South-South, that they are already there at the airport. He's there at the airport with the ministers, but because of the emergency meeting and the further meeting of Mr. President with the Inspector General of Police and the DG SSS, that it will be difficult for them to come for this meeting without these two persons in their midst.
The announcement elicited a floodgate of anger and frustration from the leaders who did not mince words over their feeling while demanding an unreserved apology.
Enough of the insult. Me, I first know say this meeting no go ahead. We cannot pick any call from presidency, at least within the next 24 hours. If they take their phone call, if they say, oh, no, not sell us out.
There is nothing happening in Nigeria that will call off such a meeting, no matter the excuse that they have sent down to users.
Governor Okowa then reels out the position of the regional leadership.
We desire, as a region, an unreserved public apology to the region, particularly to our traditional rulers and the leaders in this zone.
Some traditional rulers have this to say.
There's no single minister here, from here. There's nobody representing anybody here. And 6 of you are there, and all of us are here. We are going to take a decisive decision.
We felt this is a complete disregard for the traditional rulers and the region.
The anger, frustration, and utter disappointment in the room is visible as these leaders say they feel disrespected and will not tolerate a reoccurrence. From Port Harcourt, Jeffrey Uzongo, Channels Television News.
Governor David Umahi of Ebonyi State has been giving reasons for his defection to the All Progressive Congress, saying that the ruling party did not promise him any position. He explained that his decision to quit the former ruling party was informed by the continued marginalization of the southeast geopolitical zone by the People's Democratic Party. Governor Umahi stated this during a news conference in Abakaliki, the Ebonyi State capital.
Some people say I was promised this and that. There was no such discussion. APC never promised me any position. They never promised Southeast any position. There was no such discussion. However, I offered this movement as a protest to injustice being done to Southeast by PDP. That since 1998-99, the Southeast people have supported PDP in all elections. At a time, the 5 states were all PDP. And one of the founding members of PDP is from Southeast, the late Vice President, His Excellency Alex Ekwueme. And so, it is absurd that since 1998, going to 2023, that Southeast will never be considered to run for presidency under the ticket of PDP is very absurd. And this is my position, and will continue to be my position. It has nothing to do with me.
And in a swift reaction to the defection of Governor Umahi to the APC, the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has taken a swipe at the governor over claims that his reason for dumping the PDP is because of the PDP's injustice against people of the southeast region. He said Governor Umahi has the right to pursue his political ambition in any party of his choice, but should know that his recent decision may be the greatest political undoing.
My friend Umahi, you want to be president? No, there's no problem about that. You have a right to be president. Nobody can stop you. You're educated. You've been a governor for 2 times, so you're qualified to say, I want to be president of Nigeria. But that does not mean that because you want to blackmail your party to put them in the bad light against the people of the Southeast, then you now come up to say that you are leaving the party because of the injustice meted by PDP against the people of Southeast. That's not correct. I do know, and I can tell you to go to the bank with it. What David Umahi has done today has made him. Politically, David Umahi will know that the politics of Nigeria is not the politics of a state. This presidency thing, he will know that the more you look, the less you see.
When the news at 10 returns, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies signal readiness to act on crude output cuts to prevent further slump in oil prices. That's on Business News. Do join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. Former military President General Ibrahim Babangida and former Head of State General Abdulsalami Abubakar have shown support for the formation of the North Central People's Forum. General Abdulsalami Abubakar, who was met at his residence by leaders of the forum, lauded the idea, which he believes is long overdue. And General Ibrahim Babangida, who was also visited at his residence by the group, says it's a bold and commendable step.
This forum has been overdue. And I'm glad that the founding fathers and mothers, all these highly eminent persons, doctors, professors, senators, former PAMSECs, former gubernatorial aspirants, and so on, have got themselves together to form this forum. With the caliber of people and personnel that are in this forum, certainly the forum will benefit from your experiences. It will go a long way to minimize the disharmony between human beings first and between the amalgamation of all the tribes we have, not only in the North Central region, but in the country as a whole.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has arraigned 2 lecturers of the University of Uyo over allegations of electoral fraud in the 2019 general elections. The senior lecturers who served as ad hoc officials have been identified as Professor Peter Ogba and Professor Ignatius Uduk. Professor Ogba, who was the collation returning officer in the 2019 Akwa Ibom Northwest National Assembly election, was brought before a state high court in Ikotekpene division by INEC on the allegation that he manipulated scores of 2 political parties, falsified and announced fake results in 2 local government areas. The arraignment of Professor Uduk, on the other hand, is slated for later. The Commission's resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom, Mike Igini, says the move to prosecute the university teachers is part of INEC's commitment to ensure credibility of elections in the country. Nigeria has emerged as one of the overall winners at the just concluded 2020 Huawei Global ICT competition. The event, which witnessed and participated students from 39 countries, is part of Huawei's ICT support for the future. The Deputy Managing Director of Huawei Nigeria, Mr. Kelvin Chang, says Huawei will launch a more aggressive talent program for training and encouragement of Nigerian students to catch up with the latest technologies.
And award ceremony.
The Huawei ICT Competition 2019 to 2020 Global Final showcases 110 teams from 39 countries.
Nigeria Team 3.
This year, the Nigerian team is one of the winners at the online awards ceremony, attended by high-ranking government officials and industry leaders.
We value the power partnership, and we use this opportunity to congratulate Mrs. Huawei for their sustained interest in moving our educational system to enviable heights, because education is at the heart of our opportunities.
We look forward to more collaboration between Huawei and the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy.
I also thank Huawei for supporting our Nigerian students and hope that they will continue to partner with the country in developing our ICT capabilities.
For one of the students, Huawei has continued to live up to its reputation.
H, hope for those who want to develop. U, unique in its entirety. A, available to everyone. W, worldwide in scope. E, excellent in operations. And I, intelligent in technology.
More than 50,000 students from 14 countries in sub-Saharan Africa participated in the Huawei ICT competition, the biggest attendance so far. Huawei says this is only the beginning of greater opportunities to come.
We're going to launch a more aggressive talent building program. In fact, currently we're partnered with 79 universities and colleges in Nigeria, and they're training up to 10,000 students every year. We will continue with this program and carry out more incentive plans to encourage students to catch up with the latest technology.
In the past 5 years, Huawei has signed cooperation agreements with over 250 universities in 14 sub-Saharan countries, including Nigeria, thereby enabling more than 7,000 university students to obtain Huawei ICT certification, which makes them better candidates for ICT-related jobs.
MultiChoice Nigeria, a major entertainment company in the country, has launched its holiday package Festive Moments on its DSTV and GoTV platforms. The launch, which was made today in Lagos at a press conference, unveiled several new programs for the festive season, as well as a new brand ambassador.
It's a multi-choice conference to tell customers how boredom will be kept at bay this holiday season. MultiChoice says it held its spot in the hearts of viewers during the lockdown when entertainment outlets and recreation spots were shut.
Content that we produced using our own crews, scripted it, partnered with our sponsors and delivered. We had the most amazing Big Brother season ever.
And now there's lots to keep everyone occupied during this period.
If you liked Ajoche, if you liked Brethren, Forbidden, you would if you liked Jemeji, Hush, you would definitely like Leone and Inaki.
There's also Shoot Your Shot for the singles, 4 new channels for younger members of the family, and lots of sports content on Premier League and La Liga. A brand new GoTV ambassador, Leone, is ushered on stage and welcomed into the MultiChoice family by staff and an older ambassador, Daddy Shoki.
Cuts across traditions, cultures, ethnicity, and it just everybody who is anybody knows GoTV. And so for me to be a brand ambassador is like a very big deal for me.
You can change the package that you're on You can pay your subscription. You can activate your auto renewal. You can rent a movie if you're on DSTV, and all the reasons that people come to see us for in the offices. It's all on your phone now.
In addition, premium subscribers can stream movies, series and sports free on Showmax, while other subscribers can get it at half the price. MultiChoice is also asking its faithful viewers to keep their phones on to stand a chance of winning one of over 1.5 million gifts up for grabs in the next 60 days.
Let's take a look at some business now. Here's Teniola Shobowale.
Thanks a lot, Ijoma. Welcome to Business News. Members of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, called OPEC Plus, say they would be ready to cut crude production in order to prevent another slump in prices. At the end of the virtual meeting of the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee held today, OPEC Plus pointed out that all participating countries need to be vigilant, proactive, and be prepared to act when necessary to the requirements of the market. However, the OPEC Plus GMMC turned down an informal request from Nigeria to reevaluate the baseline from which its crude output cuts are calculated, citing that change to oil quota could lead to a collapse in the market. Meanwhile, OPEC Plus is expected to make a final decision on output at their last meeting for 2020, coming up between November the 30th and December the 1st. A total of 2.054 trillion naira was disbursed by the Federation Account Allocation Committee to the three tiers of government and other statutory recipients in the third quarter of 2020. According to latest reports released today by the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, the amount disbursed was 6.2% higher than the 1.934 trillion naira disbursed in the second quarter of the year, despite the socio-economic impact of COVID-19. The African Export-Import Bank has posted a net income of $217.06 million in the 9 months financial performance as at September 30th, despite the impact of COVID-19 on businesses and income. According to the result posted on its website, the Pan-African Multilateral Trade Finance Institution's net interest income grew by 16% to $421.77 million, against $362.83 million recorded within the same period last year. At the same time, the bank's total assets increased by 34% to $19.33 billion, in contrast to the previous $14.44 billion, and this was mainly due to increases in loans and advances and cash equivalents. Nigeria's stock market is down a second day in the week, and this time by a deeper percent margin, after investors intensified profit-taking on 30 blue-chip and mid-cap equities. Chimeze Obiwagu has details of today's trading at the NSE.
Thanks, Tenny, and welcome to the Stock Market Report. It was a heavy fall today, but like I said yesterday, the market is still on correction mode. When you look at the number of gainers and losers, you'll see that it's beginning to rebalance. And so this almost 2% drop we see here was as a result of the haircut on the heavyweight champions, the likes of Dangote Cement, WAPCO, Nestle, and Nigerian breweries. Interestingly, when you look at the banking sector, which has taken a hit in the last two trading sessions, you will see that it's beginning to stabilize. GT Bank, for instance, regained 2 naira, and that helped to move the index into the green. Zenith lost, but very marginal. This tells volume about where the market is headed. Traders will tell you that a lot of people who put in their money in this market this year have made quite a handsome return, irrespective of the COVID-19. So while we are seeing these set of investors cashing out, another set of investors are coming into the market. And of course, the rest of the year looks promising. So Tenny, if you are looking for where to put in your money, this is still a very good time to enter the market. Let's look at the activity chart. Both volume and value are still huge. More interesting about this is that USC property is the major contributor to those volume and value, making up 80% of the volume and about 45% of the value, but more on the sell side because of a major divestment by USCN from USC property. In all of these, the stockbroker I spoke with today was very optimistic that the market will rebound by tomorrow. Let's wait and see. And that was the stock market report. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwawu.
And that's business news tonight. It's back to you, Ijoma.
Thanks a lot, Teniola. Still ahead on the news at 10, U.S. lawmakers grill Facebook and Twitter chief executives over material distributed on U.S. elections on their platforms. And more from our London studios in Around the World in 5. To join us again. Welcome back. Facebook and Twitter's chief executives have been cross-examined by U.S. senators for the second time in 3 weeks. They've been challenged over their handling of posts by President Trump and others who have contested the vote's result. Here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. US President-elect Joe Biden has warned that people may die if his incoming administration continues to be impeded by incumbent Donald Trump.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Biden said coordination was needed to tackle the coronavirus outbreak. He called President Trump's refusal to acknowledge he lost the election as totally irresponsible, despite calls to do so from both sides. The Trump campaign launched a flurry of legal challenges in the wake of the vote to contest ballot counts. So far, those efforts have failed and no evidence of significant fraud has emerged.
More people may die if we don't coordinate. I am hopeful that the president will be mildly more enlightened before we get to January 20th.
The United Nations have warned the 2-week-long conflict in Ethiopia's northern Tigre region is developing into a full-scale humanitarian crisis. At least 27,000 people have so far fled to neighbouring Sudan, and the UN says its teams there are overwhelmed. Fighting broke out after Ethiopia's government accused of treason the Tigre's People's Liberation Front, which controls the Tigre region, while the TPLF sees the federal government as illegitimate. The conflict has also reportedly killed hundreds, but getting information from the Tigre is hard as there is virtual communications blackout. The UN fears the numbers fleeing Ethiopia may be just a fraction of those forced from their homes by the fighting, but for the moment, aid agencies continue to have no access to the region. Hurricane Iota, considered to be the most violent Atlantic storm in 2020, has made landfall in Nicaragua just 2 weeks after another devastating storm hit. The storm had strengthened at sea to a Category 5 before making landfall with maximum sustained winds of up to 260 kilometers per hour. As it struck Nicaragua, it weakened to a Category 4, but the US National Hurricane Center said it remains extremely dangerous. The agency warned of catastrophic winds, a life-threatening storm surge, and torrential rainfall. There were no immediate reports of casualties. Nicaraguan officials said around 40,000 people have been evacuated from areas in the storm's path. Peru's Congress has elected a new interim president, the country's third head of state, in under a week.
Por nuestro país.
Congressman Francisco Sagasti, a 76-year-old engineer and academic, will lead the country until the presidential election next year. Last week, President Martin Vizcarra was impeached over bribery allegations, which he denies, a move that sparked protests across the country. Mr. Sagasti has taken over from Manuel Merino, the former Speaker of Congress. Mr. Merino had been in the post for less than a week when protesters and politicians called for his resignation, following a violent crackdown on demonstrations against him. Police in Thailand have fired water cannon at protesters who tried to cut their way through razor wire outside Parliament as lawmakers discussed possible changes to the constitution. Protesters are demanding changes to the constitution drawn up by Thailand's former junta and ask for the removal of the Prime Minister Prayuth Chan-o-cha, a former army ruler, with reforms to curb the powers of the monarchy. Lawmakers are discussing several proposals for the ways in which the constitution can be amended, some of which would exclude the possibility of changes to the way the monarchy is treated under the constitution. 3 people have been arrested over a dramatic diamond heist in Germany last year that targeted one of Europe's largest treasure collections. The suspects are accused of stealing more than a dozen diamond-encrusted items from the Dresden Green Vault in the east of the country for an estimated value of over €1 billion. The 3 alleged thieves forced their way into Dresden's Green Vault Museum in November last year, taking off with at least 3 sets of early 18th century jewellery, including diamonds and rubies. The 3 held are believed to be members of a notorious criminal family network based in Berlin. And finally, a Japanese institute has rolled out a robot to ensure that people abide by social distancing measures in a social experiment in a football club shop in Osaka. The robot, dubbed Robuvi, was developed by the Kyoto-based institute ATR and was equipped with 3D sensors and cameras to detect customers who were not following social distancing measures and wearing face masks. The developer expects the shop's customers to be more accepting of being asked by an emotionless robot to obey strict coronavirus measures rather than by a human. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Technology. Many thanks, Simon. Well, the Lone Stars of Sierra Leone has again held the Super Eagles of Nigeria to a draw within 5 days in the African Nations Cup qualifier. This time, there were no goals recorded in the second meeting between both sides at the Siaka Stevens Stadium in Freetown. Earlier, Group L opponents Lesotho and Benin Republic played a goalless draw, leaving the group wide open before the Lone Stars and the Super Eagles took to the pitch. International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach has concluded his 2-day visit to Tokyo by visiting the national stadium and encouraging the world's athletes to get vaccinated against COVID-19 to demonstrate solidarity with their Japanese host. His visit is the first since the decision to postpone the Games in March and has already been up. That's a wrap in sports news. Ijoma's back to you.
Thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. It was a conditional air of freedom for NSAS protester Peter Oromosele as a magistrate court in Lagos today granted him bail in the sum of 1 million naira and 2 sureties after spending 10 days in prison custody. And also today, the governors of the South-South geopolitical zone demanded an unreserved apology from the presidency for cancelling a scheduled meeting with leaders of the region in Port Harcourt. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks so much for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Bunyato. You stay safe and good night.